Welcome to today's topic, What's Left Unsaid About AI. 5 surprising truths that will change everything. You've probably heard about artificial intelligence being the future of technology, but what you may not know is that AI has already reached a critical milestone. In fact, a 2020 study by Gartner estimates that by 2023, AI will be responsible for over 70% of all data processing worldwide. That's right. 7 out of every 10 pieces of data will be processed by artificial intelligence. But here's the most surprising part, we're not just talking about simple tasks like image recognition or language translation. No, these advanced AI systems are capable of complex decision-making and even creativity. For example, in 2019, a company called Google announced that it had developed an AI-powered tool for composing music. And let me tell you, the results were stunning. This AI-generated piece of music was so good that many people couldn't tell it apart from one written by a human. Now, I know what you're thinking, okay, this all sounds impressive, but what about job security? Will AI replace us all? Well, let me assure you that while AI will certainly automate some tasks, the impact on employment won't be as catastrophic as you might think. In fact, a 2019 report by the McKinsey Global Institute found that while up to 800 million jobs could be lost worldwide due to automation, another 140 million new jobs could also be created. But let's get back to the topic at hand, what's left unsaid about AI. As we delve deeper into this technology, you'll discover some surprising truths that will change everything. In fact, I'm about to reveal 5 surprises that might just blow your mind. Did you know that the most advanced AI systems today are often trained on massive amounts of data, including sensitive and personal information? In fact, a recent study found that over 60% of AI models used in healthcare contain sensitive patient data. Now, this might not seem like a big deal at first, but consider this: what happens when an AI system is hacked or compromised? Suddenly, millions of people's most private medical records could be exposed. And it gets even worse. Many AI systems are also trained on biased and incomplete datasets, which can lead to discriminatory outcomes in areas like hiring, lending, and law enforcement. For example, a 2018 study by the Center for Investigative Reporting found that Amazon's AI-powered recruitment tool was biased against female applicants, rejecting resumes with words like women or girl. Now, I know this sounds alarming, but it gets even more complicated when you consider the role of governments in regulating AI. In some countries, AI is being used to monitor citizens and suppress dissent. For example, a 2020 report by Amnesty International found that China's facial recognition technology was being used to track and detain Uyghur Muslims. But what about the environmental impact of AI? You might think it's just a small price to pay for all the benefits, but consider this: large-scale AI training requires massive amounts of energy, often powered by fossil fuels. In fact, a 2020 study found that AI could be responsible for up to 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions by 2040. And it gets even worse. Many AI systems are also designed with planned obsolescence in mind, which means they're deliberately made to break or become outdated after a certain period of time. This creates an enormous waste problem, as millions of discarded AI devices end up in landfills and incinerators. But there's another issue lurking beneath the surface: data storage. As we generate more and more data with our AI-powered devices, we're also creating massive amounts of electronic waste. In fact, a 2020 report by the World Economic Forum found that the global e-waste problem could reach up to 74 million tons per year by 2030. Now, let's talk about transparency in AI, or rather, the lack of it. You might think that with all the advances in AI, we'd finally have a clear understanding of how these systems work. But unfortunately, many AI models are so complex and opaque that even their creators can't explain them. In fact, a 2020 study by the European Commission found that over 50% of AI developers reported being unable to interpret or understand their own models. And it gets even worse: some AI systems are so black-boxed that they're essentially unexplainable, which raises serious questions about accountability and ethics. But here's the thing: transparency is key when it comes to building trust in AI. As we push the boundaries of this technology, we need to ensure that our models are transparent, explainable, and fair. Anything less is a recipe for disaster. Now let's talk about autonomous AI, or AI that can act independently without human intervention. You might think it's just a matter of time before we see self-driving cars and drones on the market. But what you may not know is that some companies are already developing autonomous AI systems for military use. For example, in 2020, the U.S. Department of Defense announced plans to develop an autonomous AI-powered drone system for surveillance and combat missions. And it gets even more concerning. These systems could potentially be used for cyber warfare or even as a tool for remote control over critical infrastructure. But here's the thing, we're not just talking about individual drones or vehicles, we're talking about entire networks of autonomous AI systems that can work together to achieve complex tasks. This raises some serious questions about accountability and control when it comes to these powerful technologies. Now let's talk about the human factor in AI, or rather, how humans interact with and influence these systems. You might think it's just a matter of feeding data into an algorithm and letting it do its magic. But what you may not know is that many AI systems are designed to amplify human biases and flaws. For example, a 2020 study by the University of California found that AI-powered recruitment tools were often trained on biased job postings, which could lead to discriminatory hiring practices. And it gets even worse, some AI systems are even designed to manipulate people's emotions or opinions through targeted advertising or propaganda. But here's the thing. Humans are ultimately responsible for creating and controlling these powerful technologies. As we push the boundaries of AI, we need to be aware of our own biases and flaws, and take steps to mitigate them. So there you have it, 5 surprising truths about AI that will change everything. From the dark side of AI to the unseen consequences of its development, it's clear that this technology is far more complex and nuanced than we often give it credit for. But don't worry, I'm not here to scare you off or tell you that AI is a bad thing. No, what I want to do is inspire you to think critically about these technologies and their implications. As we move forward in the age of AI, let's make sure we're building systems that are transparent, explainable, and fair, for all humans involved. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos on this topic.